This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Stitch Duran here in Las Vegas. Stitch, always good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and it's always good seeing you, bro. You know, you were asking me, those guys, he was asking me if I had time for him. Always got time for you, bro.
I appreciate that, Stitch, but I know you are a busy man. Yeah, we obviously had a brief chat off camera, and you're working with David Benavidez for this fight. How did that one come about?
You know, I'll give you the whole story. I guess it's kind of great, man. So about 10 years ago when I was still with the UFC, we were doing a show at the O2 Arena. And we're in the bus going to the weigh-ins, and Jose Benavidez, the father, sitting next to me. He's training Ryan Bader and other guys, and he's telling me, I have two sons, they're both going to be world champions, right? Well, I hear that all the time. Well, when Errol Spence fought Ugas, we're in Dallas, and I see the three of them together, and I said, I want you guys to know that your father said 10 years ago, both of you guys could be world champs. So that's the bond, right? Well, go fast forward, now here's the competitiveness of the father and myself. When Caleb Plant fought Jose or David, I'm the one that went into the dressing room to watch him wrap hands. And the father knows that I know how to wrap hands, right? Not going to question me on my authority. So in boxing, when you go between the fingers, you could turn the tape and go between the fingers. Well, he was doing that. So a question is, why are you doing that? Kind of frustrated him a little bit, looks at me and, hey, well, fuck you. So I knew that I had gotten in his head, but at the end of the fight, he came up and said, man, I'm sorry. But going fast forward, so we're competitors. It's the way it should be, right? So come fast forward, he called me last week. And I asked him if I'd be interested in being a cut man for David. And we talked day before yesterday when we met for the first time. And I said, he says, it makes so much sense now because I was a cut man and trainer for the last 15 years with both kids. But now I know that David's getting into a different level of competition, and it's important for him to have a coach that's a trainer and a coach and a guy that's a cut man that does cut man work. So he brought me on board with that. So that's how the story goes. And then Jose, the other one, I did the Creed movie with him. So, and then they're Mexicans, bro. Come on, so it was meant to be.
Stitch, obviously, because you've been brought in for this fight, then have you had the time to kind of not practice wrapping hands, but kind of, I know every fighter likes them being wrapped a certain way. So have you had a chance to kind of sit down with him yet, just to kind of get a feel for how he'd like to have his hands wrapped?
Well, no, his dad's going to wrap them. You know, if it ain't broke, don't change it, right? But I did sit down with him and I told him, I said, look, my job is to take care of you, like you're my son. You know, I want to make sure that you walk out as handsome as you walk in. I said, so what I do is I keep ice on you every round. I'm not going to wait till you have inflammation. So I'm going to do a lot of preventive maintenance. And then I explain the medications and what I do and how I do them. And yeah, I said, look, man, I'm going to treat you like you're going to have two fathers, me and your dad. So I'm going to treat you like you're my son. And you get that off, you know, you get that mentality off. And I told him the story about Vladimir Klitschko when he fought Anthony Joshua in Wembley. And where I didn't see Vladimir till Friday at the weigh-ins, but I told him, look, don't worry about nothing tomorrow. I'm going to take care of you like you're my son. And right, I'm putting the final Vaseline on him, and right before Michael Buffer does the announcement, he says, you could call me son. So I knew I got it in his head, and I think just talking to David, I kind of relaxed him and got that out of his mind.
Stitch, how much of David's career then have you followed? You mentioned the father coming to you 10 years ago and telling you he's got two future world champion sons beneath him. So how much of their careers have you tracked?
Yeah, well, you know, once he started getting into the big leagues, but big leagues, you know, then of course you can't help not to see him fight, especially when a guy that's aggressive like that and the storyline that he has and the accomplishments that he's done. And, you know, he's still a young kid. So we'll see what the future brings for him. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to working with this fight on this one, and hopefully we'll continue, and I'm part of the team from now till he retires.
For many people, he's seen as a special fighter. A lot of people would have obviously loved to have seen a Canelo fight at 168. We still hope we do see that one day. But from what you've seen of David Benavidez has impressed you the most, and what do you expect to see on Saturday night?
Well, you know, when he fought Caleb Plant, I got to see a real good part of him. You know, he's aggressive. He's aggressive. He's going to hit you hard and all that. And I know everybody wanted the Canelo-Benavidez fight, but you know, at this stage of the game, as a business aspect, you know, Canelo's done everything he's needed to do, and you know, he's at the tail end of his career. And you know, you got the old adage of the old line and the new line coming in, and you know, it's not a good scenario. So leave it as is. But yeah, I wish David a lot good luck. He'll be in the front for a long time.
Do you think that's kind of the main reason then why we haven't, or we may not see a Canelo-Benavidez fight? Obviously, as you mentioned, Canelo's achieved a great deal in his career. He'll go down in any form of a boxing hall of fame that's out there. But it is a case of maybe age is starting to catch up with him, and David's starting to reach his peak years.
Yeah, and that's that scenario. You know, you see it all the time, and Canelo's still a great fighter, but why? You know, it's just not. He's proven himself time after time after time, and you know, why? You know, so, and unfortunately, you know, David's the one that's kind of stuck right there, so he has to build his own credibility from here going on. And Saturday will be a start of him going into the light heavyweight division and all that. So, yeah, I wish him a lot of luck.
He'll have his eyes on trying to become a world champion, obviously, at 175 now. Turki Al-Sheikh out in Saudi Arabia has mentioned he'd like to make Benavidez versus the winner of Beterbiev-Bivol. Depending on how David looks on Saturday night, if he can produce, say, the type of performance he did against Caleb Plant or Demetrius Andrade, how confident would you be that he could overcome a Beterbiev-Bivol winner?
Yeah, I expect those fights. You know, him, and I think the father expects those fights, you know. That's why they brought me in, because it's a whole different level of competition, right? And, you know, so, yeah, I'd love to see that fight. And, you know, you're talking about the Turk, you know, you're talking about him buying all these promotions and, you know, doing the worldwide boxing and all that. And I just hope that, you know, they instill education. And education is the major thing that we're missing here in boxing worldwide. And I would love to be part of the educational value of taking care of these fighters. And, you know, something as simple as David, I explained to him what the adrenaline chloride 1000 is. The medication. I said, do you know what it does? He goes, no, I don't. I said, all right, well, I'm going to explain to you, but it's important for you to know as a fighter. When you get cut, the first thing I do is squeeze. And it's those little blood vessels. I squeeze the blood out. I put the adrenaline, which is the medication, and it absorbs into the vessels, and it closes up the blood vessels. It's a vessel constrictor. So, you know, those are little things like that people don't know. But it's important for the game. We're in a whole new era. It has to be improved, bro. We got to take care of these guys. And nothing better through education.
You brought up that potential Saudi Boxing League. On that note, obviously you've worked in the UFC previously, where everyone was under one umbrella, if you will. Do you think something like that is possible in boxing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a giant step to take, right? And but I'd love to sit down and see what you know, what they're looking and talking about. But if it's going to be a worldwide issue, it's going to have to involve a lot of the big people, and not so much for the money, but for the sake of the fighters. I'd like to be involved in that.
Stitch, just the final one. Obviously, somebody you know well, Tyson Fury fell short against Oleksandr Usyk a few weeks ago. What did you make of that fight?
You know, I just saw the end of it. You know, but that's why I never predict fights, Andy, because nobody knows. You know, and yeah, it was good for the Ukrainian people with Usyk and Lomachenko and Bernick and all that, winning world titles all within a week. You know, just for the morale purpose of it. Tyson Fury, he's fine. You know, he's at the point of his career that, you know what, if I lose, people are still going to love me. If I win, people are still going to love me.
One of the last interviews that we did, you mentioned kind of the importance of Tyson bringing in an experienced cutman for a fight, especially of that magnitude. Did you ever have any conversations revisited prior to the Usyk fight?
No, you know, I never did. You know, and I'm not the kind of guy that one of my proud moments in my whole career, Andy, is I've never asked for one job. You know, I mentioned that to you, and it's not been my nature. They got my number, you know, and things are fine with me. You know, so talking about education, let me close by saying, people ask me all the time, you know, what's it take to be a cut man, and can you teach me? And I've done seminars, but I'm so busy. So I put a video out. It's called Giving the Fighter One More Round. It's available at StitchDuran.com. Bro, I'm going to show you how to wrap hands for boxing, for MMA, how to work swelling, the tools you need, the medications you need, how to work on cuts. Everything that I do in a seminar to teach these guys, it's only $50. It's not to make money. It's for you to understand how to take care of these fighters, and that's why I'm saying education is something that I want people to recognize me as, here's what I brought to the table.
Right, Stitch, we are being told that it's going to start very shortly, so I appreciate your time. I'm sure I'll catch up with you as the week goes on, and good luck on Saturday night with David.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, Andy. Thanks.